My husband was in law enforcement for 20 years. There was just no respect anymore for authority. It had changed so much where I didn't know if he was going to come home to me. I moved from California, from the Bay Area in California. I was really worried about coming here because you hear all the stories about people coming from California into Texas. So we ended up coming to Rome, Texas. And due to the climate of where we lived, I was like, you are going to retire. I can't do this anymore. It was that bad. And so when he decided to retire, we kind of looked at a couple of different states because we knew we couldn't stay in California on a retirement budget. So I said, you have to stay in the lower states, the lower half of the United States. And Texas happened to be on there. And I had always just been drawn to Texas. My daughter, when she was little, used to always say, I'm going to move to Texas when I become a big girl. And here we are. So it was just kind of the other states that we had looked at just didn't have what we had on our list of requirements.
So what were some of those things on your list of requirements?
One of them was to be able to purchase land. And we knew that we wanted land. We wanted at least an acre. And we wanted to be in a centralized area where we were close to like a metropolitan city, but outside of it, so it wouldn't be too far to go where we could go to shopping and groceries and movies and so forth. But we didn't want to be inside the city. The other is I don't want to say we're like political, but we also we wanted a red state. So we knew, and one that had some of the values that we grew up with that no longer were around where we lived. And so that was a huge thing too.
So in California, what were some of those things that you guys had to deal with that you didn't like?
The big one is my husband being a police officer. It was the climate just had changed dramatically where there was just no respect anymore for authority or police officers or people who are in law enforcement in general. There was just no respect whatsoever. So that it became a huge factor, especially for me being at home by myself with my daughter while he was out at work. There was riots and there were things, and I was constantly worried about him, where in the past I worried about him, but I was like, I knew his capabilities as a police officer. And so I knew that he was going to come home to me. It had changed so much where I didn't know if he was going to come home to me because I didn't know how other people, I kind of knew how other people felt, and they didn't like police officers. They didn't like law enforcement. So I had no control over that. Yeah. And that became really scary for us.
Okay, so tell me, what if you could express the values of Texas that attracted you, what would you say about Texas?
It reminds me of when I was a kid, just manners, respect, hospitality. People are just very humble and down to earth. I was really worried about coming here because you hear all the stories about people coming from California into Texas. And so for a long time, I wouldn't tell anybody that we were from until I kind of got to know them. And I think that for the majority of the people, they're okay with people from California coming here, as long as you have the right mindset too. We are coming into their state. And I realize that I'm not coming here to try and change anybody's mind or anybody's political, feelings or anything like that. I'm coming into your state and I'm going to adapt. And that's why I came here, and when we first moved here, actually, it was my husband and my daughter were in the car and their car broke down, and this young man came and helped them and actually helped my husband take his car to his house and said he can keep it there, drove them all the way back out here. And, I was like, well, do we need to give him money? And he's like, my husband was like, no, I asked him and he said, no, my mother would be so upset if I just kept pass by you and you guys did it, I didn't pull over to help. But he ended up my husband did take him out to go have some lunch at another time just to thank him. But that would not have happened where we lived in that area in California. That they would have just kept on driving by and faster just to, see if something could happen, which is unfortunate.
Yeah. Yeah. So you guys have been here, what? Have you been here 2 years?
Yes. In June, it was 2 years.
Okay, so 2 years. Do you miss anything about California?
No.
You don't miss anything about California?
Nope, I do not. Some people, well, don't you miss your family? No, I don't, because most of my family has already moved out of California anyways. So they're all spread out around the states. I will say when in the beginning, I was lonely, but not for people. I was lonely for the familiarity of knowing where things were.
Mm.
You know, I could go down the street to the grocery store, really quick. I knew where Joanne Fabrics was. I knew where Michael's were. I knew where all these things were. Now I had to figure out where all that was. And where we live now, I'm about 25 minutes away from a Walmart and maybe about 35 minutes away from a Target and big grocery stores. So it's not that easy just to, oh, I forgot some milk. Well, too bad you're not going to have milk today. Or so, I mean, I could go to the Dollar General, but to do big grocery stuff, if I forgot something, that's just not going to happen. So it was that was the one thing that I missed the most, was just the familiarity of knowing where things were at.
Knowing where they're at, maybe the convenience.
And the convenience a little bit, yeah, that exactly, yes. But I don't miss anything. People are like, well, don't you miss the beach? I very rarely went there anyways. I did. It's not like I lived close by. It was still like a 3 to 4 hour trip to go to the beach anyways. So yeah, I don't, there isn't anything that I miss about California. I have no reason to go back there. My kids aren't there, and that would be the only reason to go back to California.
So what about regrets?
That we didn't come here sooner.
Okay.
Just that we didn't come here sooner.
And what about anything about Texas that you don't like?
I think initially was just being so far away from everything. But I've just kind of gotten used to it now.
Oh, what would you say to someone considering moving to Texas?
I actually thought about this. There's a few things. Is I would definitely say do your research on where you want to live and what that means to you, whether you have kids, because my children are older. My daughter came with us and she was 25, so she was already getting ready to move out anyways. Depending on if you have children, do your research about that, like the schools, where you want to live because of the schools. And if you go to church, find a church, research that. That's the only, just do your research.
What do you feel is the best thing about living here?
I'm going to say it's the weather for sure. I love the warm weather. I love the summer evenings. I love taking walks in when the sun's going down. I love the mornings. It's just everything about it so far has been the weather. People are like, but it's so hot and humid. I'm like, okay, so it's hot and humid. I thrive in it. I really enjoy that. And then the second would also be just the people. I have met some of the nicest people. And mind you, it's not like we're best friends or we're anything. They're just so caring. They're so heartfelt and giving and humble and just they show you the best of who they are. And it makes you want to be the best to show them who the best of you as well.
Any other thoughts just overall that you want to share with your experience moving?
I would say that if you're gonna move to Texas, then by all means move to Texas and don't be afraid of what others are going to think about where you came from. Show them who you are. Show them who you are and why you chose Texas, because it really is a good state. It's not perfect by any means. It has its downfalls, however you want to talk, whether it's political or it's because of, the area that you live in or whatever. It's not perfect. No place is, but it could be perfect for you if you want it to be. Take a look at different areas, because different areas have different things for different people and different times of your life. If you're a family with, kids, we didn't know anything about Texas. And my husband did all the research online, and that's how we found you. And so that was really cool thing, because I would have just been like, let's pack the car and let's go.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.